Welcome to heCast, the official podcast of HeChangedIt. As always, I am Mike Chisholm. As always, I am excited to be here to talk about all things men's mental wellness. It's amazing watching this thing grow. This thing that just started as an idea a few years ago is starting to turn into, it's starting to pay off and pay dividends. There's a lot of guys that are actually already being helped by this thing, even though we are only in beta and really at the end of the day only getting started. If you haven't downloaded the HeChangedIt app, what the heck are you thinking of? No matter what your persuasion is, whether it's the iPhones and the Apples or the Galaxies and all the rest of the Androids, head on into your app store, look for HeChangedIt, download the app. We would appreciate that very, very much. And watch, be an alpha consumer. Watch this thing grow. You ain't seen nothing yet. The app is in beta still at the time of this broadcast. But some cool things are happening. Some very cool things are happening. And all the way along the way, guys are being helped. I love hosting this podcast. It's amazing. I get to be the front row seat and hear about all of these amazing stories, techniques, and other things that we're going to talk about here today. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to the podcast, we would be very appreciative of that. And you know, I'm really excited about today. As you can see, we're not in the normal studio that we shoot in. We are on location at Black Market Barber Company and SMP. We're going to talk about what all that means here in a second. I got Nicholas, the owner, founder of this establishment here. And before I kind of start with him, I'm really grateful that he's taken time out to talk about these things with us. One of the things that one of the reasons why when my wife and her team started building HeChangedIt was they discovered a lot of pain points that men have. And, you know, we've talked a lot about these on the show. We've talked about purpose. We've talked about trauma. We've talked about all sorts of things. But one of the pain points that has come up time and time again for guys that many times typically we're not incapable of talking about, but not really excited to talk about is body image. And a lot of guys feel that way. And I think I'm not even just being stereotypical when I throw out there the idea that I got a lot of gals in my life who are not afraid at all to talk about how they feel about their bodies, how they feel about, you know, the clothes they wear or their hair or things like that, and compare and get that kind of stuff out of their system. Whereas a lot of guys are sitting there not sure about how they look, not sure about how they feel about the skin that they're living in. And we're going to focus a little bit more on heCast on that particular pain point. Today we're going to do that. We got Nicholas, the owner of Black Market Barber Co. Here. Thank you so much for taking time to be here and to talk about some of this stuff with me, brother. I'm really excited to see you, man.
Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to have you guys in my space. We worked really hard on creating like an atmosphere here to make men feel safe and women as well. It's unisex with what we do for scalp micropigmentation, which many of you guys watching or listening might not know what scalp micropigmentation is, but it's a hair loss replacement service. We do a lot of density fill work so if you're thinning or you've just got some small patch work that you need to work on or a scar covering, that's what we would do for that, as well as a full hairline restoration. So they call it a Norwood scale 1 through 7, 1 being just like the progressive male pattern baldness, like with the receding hairline,
sure,
some spots in the back of your crown, and then all the way through to like a Norwood 7, which would be like, we'll just call it like the Mr. Clean look.
Oh, yeah,
shiny on top with the cul-de-sac. So we can recreate your entire hairline. It would just resemble like a buzz cut.
Yeah.
I know it's just like a nice solution to not having to fly to Turkey or spend $20K here in Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto on a hair transplant that may not work. It's extremely invasive. So yeah, the Black Market Barber Co. and Scalp Micropigmentation Studio is here for men and women.
Yeah.
And it started for men in the community of the Okanagan, Kelowna, specifically during the pandemic lockdown. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, they locked the world down and told us we weren't essential. Well, every single individual, including your dog, is essential. Who's to tell you you're not?
Right.
And so that's why we opened up the shop, started in my garage, and we, thank God, have been able to move and progress and dial up and dial in. And this is where we are now. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh man, this is really, really cool. I appreciate you giving kind of the Cole's notes. I want to dive deeper into this.
For sure.
First off, how long have you been a barber? How long have you been into you know, men's physical wellness?
For sure. I started cutting hair for men in my basement on my days off and my time off in Alberta when I was working in Alberta in 2000, 12 to 17, I was in Alberta working there specifically and living in Alberta.
Yep.
And so I went to college university prior to being in Alberta. I studied business administration, major in marketing, and then I studied communications with a major in marketing at University of Ontario Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
So I went to Alberta to pay this debt off. Then I got trapped in that whole lifestyle of catching the big paychecks and buying trucks and all these things. And I was like, this is not it. I don't want to get caught selling my soul to these oil and gas companies. I need to do something differently. You might have noticed just throughout the whole shop's layout, there's skateboards, there's bikes, there's plants. I just love art.
We got some sneakers. I'm a fan of that.
Sneakers,
I'm a big old sneakerhead.
Skateboards, plants. But most specifically in relating to the bikes and the skateboard, I've been skateboarding, snowboarding, biking since I was like 9. And so I always planned and dreamt of having a skateboard shop. And there's a lot of overhead that's required to own a skateboard shop for the bricks and mortar, inventory, etc. So when I was looking to get out of oil and gas, I was like, that is just seems like a very challenging angle to start a business. A lot of risk involved, which I'm a big risk taker and I have no problems, taking on risk. But I wanted a solution where I could kind of meet in the middle and have a service I could provide that I could never get taken away from me. I could always hold close to my heart. I could travel anywhere around the world and use it. But think global and act local. So I wanted to develop this business and brand, which was barbering, and it started small. I was working 20 days away and 10 days off once I had purchased my house in Kelowna. So I purchased the house in Kelowna knowing that I was going to come to the city, transition out of oil and gas, and become a barber and open my own studio. The reason why I selected BC and Kelowna was because in BC specific, you don't need a license to become a hairstylist to have to cut hair for men.
Okay.
You can just show up and cut. So I was like, this is enticing and encouraging because at 27, 28, when I was just getting my feet wet with it, I didn't see it feasible to go back to school, to pay the cash to do that. And there just seems a lot of boundaries to entry. So knowing that BC, I could just come in, jump in and get after it, obviously following health protocol and striving for excellence. That was just the framework. You just needed to follow the health regulations and do your best. And if you do good work, and you treat people well, that you will come back. And so I worked my days off and I did that, and that kind of transitioned out. I can talk a little bit more.
Well, I think it's Jim Rohn who says, you feed your family during the day and you work on your fortune at night. And I think that there's a lot of guys out there who they don't even have the energy, the vision, the foresight to, so you work in oil and gas, and you chase those paychecks. And I can't tell you how many people I know that think, okay, I'm going to go make 180 grand a year up there and they're going to pay a lot of my expenses. It's going to be great. I'm going to set myself up for the future. And they get caught and they start buying these toys and they get stuck in payments. And I've met so many people who make almost 200 grand a year that are 1 or 2 paychecks away from bankruptcy because they just get so overextended. They don't have a plan in place. They don't have, any of these things that we're talking about here. You get there and you see what your life is and you realize you don't want that for the rest of your life. What was it about cutting people's hair? You went to the garage and said, okay, I'm going to work on my fortune at night. And your fortune had nothing to do with money. It had to do with what life was going to look like for you and what filled your cup, what is that? It
was passion over paychecks.
Passion over paychecks.
Passion over paychecks. So that's it's on me forever and it's in me forever. So that was the driving force, was the passion over paychecks.
How did that become your passion? I'm super curious about this.
I appreciate you asking me that. It never was known to me that dealing with men, cutting hair for men, working with men's self-image to be a passion of mine. I just always loved music, culture, art, and fashion. And to be frank, I actually got incredibly inspired by one of my new best friends, new since 2019, Scott Ramos. His Instagram handle is @FAMOS, Famos. One of the most recognized barbers on the planet, and became one of the most inviting human beings I've ever met. So when I traveled, there's gonna be a little bit of jumping around.
Jump around, man. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Thank you. So in 2019, once I quit the oil and gas industry, once I'd already bought my house in Kelowna and I had an apprenticeship lined up in the city, I took a break from the apprenticeship in the city and flew directly to Montreal. I trained there for 6 weeks with all of the guys that Scott Ramos had actually trained years prior. And then I got connected to Scott through his network that I was already training with. So I flew from Winnipeg to Montreal and stayed with Scott. But reversing back to where this started, I was really inspired by Scott and the culture that he
from afar at that
from
point.
afar, it was just
Isn't it cool that you can now say that the people that you were inspired by, you're now connected to?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of guys out there who are inspired by people, and you realize, I apologize for interrupting, but I think it's a really important point that sometimes you can actually admire somebody from afar. We're only a couple degrees away from anybody on this planet.
Yeah.
And you can actually move your world closer to some of these other people's worlds. And the fact that you have done that from back to where you're about to talk about beforehand, like that is really, really cool that you ended up there. So that's rad.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I just kind of found out young in life that, and I've worked with this and against this. It's kind of funny. I think we all can like speak to this. You know something true to your heart, and you forget about it at times. But what I'm going to speak on is manifesting and generating. So I just recognize that I can literally, and if I look back and even the shittiest times in my life, I manifested all of those exact moments. I literally had seen them all in my mind. So I manifested the ability to meet Scott and get connected to him and the whole team that was near and dear to his heart and the people that he helped. And it all just came to fruition. There's so much more to the story, and all it just comes down to just like following your heart, following your passion, believing in yourself, and taking each small step every day, 1% a day to get better. And I found out that working with men's self-image, improving that fashion and art was a passion of mine, just from actually getting my feet wet and my hands dirty in that mix. So I was working oil and gas for 7 years. Before that, I was just like a kind of a punk skater. I worked a bunch of different jobs, but fighting, selling weed, doing drugs, all this bullshit that's no good. So when I got to oil and gas, I kind of cleaned my shit up. I paid off the $70,000 debt from college, university, fell in love, bought a truck, and then I was like, okay, these are all amazing things, but I see on this Instagram world people living a much different lifestyle. They're not slaving their hours away to somebody else. They're putting in like countless hours for themselves, for their own passion, for their own vision for the future. So I started setting up.
How old were you when that started?
This would have been 2016. It's now 2022. I'm 34 today, my birthday.
So you're your late 20s.
Yeah.
And you're realizing, you're kind of waking up a little bit and saying, no, this isn't the life that I was told to live, for lack of a better term, because there's a lot of guys. There's guys in their 40s right now who are still in the trap of doing what they were told to do. You know, get the good job, get the family, get the house and all that stuff. And one day you'll be fulfilled. Many of these fuckers are sitting there unfulfilled, going, when is it coming?
For sure.
When it's the self-exploration that needs to happen for you to realize this stuff. In your late 20s, you started realizing that you wanted something different.
Absolutely. So I had a small exit plan kind of lined up, and it was to get out of oil and gas directly in the field and transition into the office. So as I mentioned, I studied business administration, kind of fluffy, majored in marketing, and then I studied communication with a major in marketing sales. You can't study marketing sales. Like this is you got to be in the mix. And so like I just kind of had a knack for communication, and I have a drive to be successful, and I speak with emphasis and passion. So like the guys I work with in the field recognize this. I spoke on my educational history and like what I wanted to do with my life. So I painted a picture for my exit out of the patch in the field and transitioned into the office.
Now, when you say you painted a picture, like, are you talking you journaled this shit out and you actually made a plan? Or was it just something in your head that you knew?
I spoke it into existence with the team that was like part of Precision Well Servicing, who I worked for. I made it known to every manager, operations manager, that like, hey, I'm here to work for the next few years, but this is where I'm going to go, and you can like jump on board with that and help me as I help you, or I'm gonna have to find a new way. And so in 2016, they gave me an opportunity to go be a junior sales student, if you will, or rep with the team downtown Calgary.
Within the company that you were working?
Oh,
so that is awesome.
I was gonna go sell oil and gas services, specifically to coiled tubing, fracking, well cleanouts, all the good stuff that I had experienced in the field. I would have went out and sold those things with the team. But that was the year that the oil and gas industry absolutely got decimated. So we went from like $130 a barrel down to like 22 or something, and that job just evaporated. And that exact moment when that job opportunity evaporated is like, okay, I'm not gonna rely on oil and gas or anyone else to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do for the future. And I was like, I knew I needed a new way, and I was watching, as I mentioned, Scott Ramos and the rest of the barber culture come up. I was like, I'm gonna own a Harley, I'm gonna own my own shop, I'm gonna be happily married, and I'm gonna have my own vision for the future in Kelowna. Because I told you I did a bit of research on all these things on that. And I bought a barber chair used from Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. Bought a tool space similar like the one behind us. bought a random light that just made it horrible lighting, but I did it. And I grabbed all the tools, went on YouTube, and the rest was history. That very first night that I ever cut hair, I had lucid dreams for about 2 weeks, every single night after. And that's when I knew like it was like my higher self or consciousness or God or someone just like, dude, you cannot overlook what you've just found. Like you have to push towards that. And I've never looked back.
When I mean, I can speak from experience of myself and others, present company included now, talking about that. There is no harmony like the harmony of when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I mean, we talk a lot about purpose on this show. He Changed It is all about helping guys figure out what their purpose is, waking up, not being in the rut, the tunnel vision of just, plodding through life, but actually getting some awareness about this shit. And when you have some of that awareness and you're searching, and part of the destination shows up, like that first night, really at the end of the day, that first night you cut hair, it was the beginning of a bunch of shit you'd have to go through to get to where you want to get to.
Oh, yeah.
But the harmony of that experience, though, my God, what a feeling.
It was cool, man. It got me hyped, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And from there, this was in the basement in a home in Black Falls, Alberta. This is before Kelowna. So at that very moment in time, I was like, okay, we're going on Canva or whatever the app was that I used to develop a card, and I called it the Basement Barbershop. And I went out to the bars and wherever I needed to go to meet with men and women, because like every girl knows a guy, has a brother, has a dad.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
And I hustled, bro, because I know I used to, hustle in a different way. And this is like, it's just ingrained in me. The communication that you need to have, and like just have even just marginal amounts of communication and confidence in yourself to just look someone in the eyes, tell them about who you are, and let them know what you can offer or how you can help. And speak that with conviction and truth, and the rest is going to be this unfold for you.
Okay, Nicholas, I got to ask you this question. Okay, so you're working up north. Clearly, you got some game when it comes to work ethic, and there's a type of hustle. You're busting your ass for oil and gas, especially when it's time to work. It's time to work. Then there's downtime, but when it's time to work, it's time to work, and you're hustling. Yeah. Okay, hustling, make 150, 200 grand a year, right?
Yes.
That's one version of hustling. But when you start hustling for your dream, making $0, going out to the bars and all of that kind of stuff, tell me the difference between those types of hustling. Like, it's almost like one is dead and one is alive. When you're hustling for your dream, even if you're not making anything from it, if you're hustling for your dream, how good does that feel? And how much energy does it actually give you to hustle on the other side of things while you're trying to figure it out?
Yeah, I like that you said that about how much energy does it give you. Because like the hustle to work in the patch, it is, you got to have it.
Yeah.
And it's just like mental toughness and angst. Like you just got to be able to stand up for what you believe in and know that you got to do what you got to do to get that paycheck. But when it comes to like pushing for your passion and what you want for the future, just taking those small steps forward will actually give you more energy back. Because if they're in alignment with what you truly need to do and where you want to be, and it's like in alignment with your heart and your soul, man, it just starts to fill you up. So every day I worked in the patch, I had to make sure I ate properly, I slept properly, I journaled, and I like meditated, because I needed that clarity, that downtime, and those nutrients to just get through it. But whereas if you're working for yourself and it's in alignment with your purpose or what you believe to be, you might not even eat that day if you're grinding. Like you're just
you
so
forget that
up.
shit. You keep going. Like I can talk about this a little bit. I've had that experience too, where I had a job that was paying the bills, and I started building something on the side and building it up. And the other part of it too, when I would compare myself to people that I worked with, people who didn't have that, they were still in those, in that, I'm going to call it a rut, but tunnel vision.
Yeah, tunnel vision.
They were just doing that, right? And I thought about how much I almost got to the point where I pitied the people around me. I had empathy for them because they had no hope for anything. I at least knew that I was doing something that was going to get me to escape
100%.
where I was. And it gave me that extra fuel, like I said, that thing to look forward to.
I can speak to that, and I can definitely see that in the back of my mind, like when I reflect on when I was out there swinging hammers and picking up line pipe and working with the biggest assholes on the planet that are miserable. Like I just would do it with a smile on my face, because I was like, dude, I literally know that you're going to be here in 6 years and you're going to still be the biggest piece of dog shit ever. God bless you, but I won't. I won't be.
No, absolutely. I wish you well, but goddamn, unless you change something, you're not going to change, and I don't see anything changing.
I knew that I had an end goal Like I worked 160 days, and when I say straight, there was a few down days, and
Sure.
like there was rest days because we had to, forced by law. After like 20 days, you had to take them. But I was out in Grand Prairie, out in the sticks, working for 7 Generations Oil and Gas company producer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I worked those days, man, nonstop, every day, back to back to back to back, just to buy my house in Kelowna. And then once I got that, it's the next one, and it's the next one. You just have to keep seeing the end goal, know where you're going, and vibe out and just push out.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I want to ask more about that first haircut that night, because I mean, you talk about what it did for you, the lucid dreams and all of that stuff. Going, okay, yep, this is it. This is in line. Yep. It wasn't just a pipe dream. All the work and everything, all that thought led to this moment. It's what I want. Now the real work's going to begin. But I got to ask that question about that night. Do you remember what kind of a haircut it was?
Yeah, I think they call it. I've never used this description because it's like so great clips, but the Caesar cut.
The Caesar cut, like the bowl dude, like.
See, like I don't even use this term, so like I'll just use it in reference.
Sure.
Because she told my buddy's sister was a hairstylist. She gave me 2 1-hour classes, and that night was a 1-hour class. Get the hair wet, move it in a direction that it wants to lay. Hair likes to lay where it lives. It didn't even make sense to me, but I got it wet, and I would just move hair, and I'd be like, okay, it wants to go that way, it wants to go this way. But the Caesar cut that she explained to me, and by definition, was just like a number 3 or number 2 all the way up, and then scissor work on top, line it up, and that's it.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Stylists, barbers out there. I don't fuck with that name. I just cut hair. By description of what you want to see.
No,
I'll show you what I can do, and we kind of finesse the cut. Mid fade, low fade, high and tight. Those are descriptions that I would use. The men's classic cut scissor. We describe what you want to see.
Yeah.
A Caesar cut. I never understood that. You guys can keep that term and use it at Great Clips.
Sure. Use Great Clips. Have at her. Do you remember the reaction of the guy who was your willing guinea pig that night? Do you remember or shortly after, like as you started in the basement, because you're living your life's purpose, right?
Yeah.
Now, an extra part of that purpose is a guy who walks in maybe feeling a certain way, and when they walk out, they're feeling a completely different way. And I don't know if that happened that first night where you got to feel that part of what it is that you do.
Yeah, it happened
but did it happen right away? It did happen that night. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I'm a slow learner in different ways, and I'm definitely not the best barber in the city. There's so much talent here, but I'm my best barber. I'm the best that I can be, and I continue to strive to be better. And that's what I did that night. I just naturally had like the motion, the confidence. Like I kind of just faked it until I made it right away. Like instantly, I was just like shaking in my boots, but not literally shaking, which was huge because if I was shaking while I was working,
No, that would, yeah.
I hid that.
Shaking on the inside.
Yeah, I hid that pretty well, and I just envisioned how I wanted the cut to be at the end of it, and then I took her information and her tips and her pointers, and I just went with it, followed suit, asked for help when it was needed, believed in myself, and homie was stoked.
Man, isn't that life right there?
Yeah, it was cool.
Like the idea, asking for help, taking the tips from people, with people smarter than us. So many times we're not vulnerable enough to do that kind of stuff. But I mean, when you want something bad enough, be a student of the game and just immerse yourself in the process, right?
I feel like 100%. Amen to that. Like some people are ashamed to be a student. You're going to be a student until the day you die. And if you're not, like, I don't know what you're doing, because really, I think awareness comes when you recognize that you don't know shit.
Yeah.
So if you just keep asking questions, looking for advice, guidance, then that's huge. You don't want to be trying to have someone hold your hand the whole time. And I find myself coming in and out of that in a lot of different ways in my life. Like I ask for help when I need it, and then I'll just almost be like kind of accustomed to that bit of ass like patting, like that, when you're like babying someone, oh, you can do it. I'm always kind of looking for that. But like the growth comes when you step away from that and be like, okay, man, I've gotten my ass patted a few fucking times here. Let's dive deep. Like it's up to you now. When you got to bail, you got to learn how to fall.
Yep.
And you got to learn how to get up and dust it off and get back up. And so it's just, I don't know.
It doesn't stop being the same, does it?
There you go. No,
it was like that when we were 4 or 5 years old, and it's still like that. But so many times we load it with all sorts of whatever it might be. It might be childhood trauma. It might be when we fell off the bike when we were a kid, and we take that shit to us when we're adults, and we don't naturally think that actually dealing with, recognizing, and fighting your way through that leads to joy and vibrancy that you don't realize is there, but it's so worth doing.
Can I vape?
Yeah, man. I just absolutely sure. Yeah. Is it a vape? Absolutely.
Non-THC. It's not. It's just nicotine.
All right. You do what you got to do, man.
Appreciate it.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't judge here on heCast. No, man. I appreciate you talking about that and how you got into it. Now, I think it's safe to say the audience can translate the fact that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you love. You're in harmony. And your vibration is exactly where it needs to be if you want to talk the hippy dippy language that so many of us talk these days. You're living your purpose.
Yeah, that's real shit. That's not hippie shit.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, it's not at all.
The blue collar guy, a former blue collar guy, saying this. It's not okay. What?
Look around the shop, man. There's nothing but flowers, positivity, lots of natural light. If you look over there, like I'm wearing a cross. I'm Christian, but I believe in energy overall. Energy is everything, and we're all energy.
Yeah.
And so with that said, this hippie shit about energy, you got to bring your frequency up and make sure that you maintain that in order for you to receive the blessings and just manifestation power. You know, like if you want to have positivity in your life, you need to exude positivity. How do you get that? Typically speaking, for me, I have to put in work with my body and with my mind. So meditation and physical efforts in the morning and getting the meals in the water. And then my actual frequency for my body and my mind is I'm just, what do you call it? Like a radio signal tower. Like it's just sending it out and it's coming back to me. But when you're on a low frequency, low plane, pardon me, all you're gonna bring into is anything that's on that frequency. You get back what you put out. So if you're not vibing high, you're gonna be vibing low, bro.
Yeah, and we talk about that. You know, there's 5 fitnesses with HeChangedIt. You know, your physical fitness, your mental, your social fitness, and you know the other one, the soul fitness is, and then there's social as well. And I mean, these are they all need to work in harmony with each other. Your soul fitness, it's not about religion. It's not about one thing over another. It's about getting in that place of what feels exactly right, where you are vibing high, where you are attracting, you know, not detracting. And I think that's a real secret that a lot of guys don't necessarily focus on. You talk about journaling every day. You talk about manifesting and thinking about the things, the direction that you want your life to go in.
Yeah.
A lot of guys just don't do that.
Yeah, I think they say like 3% of the world writes down their goals every day, and 1% of the world writes down their goals and reads it. Writes down their goals and reads it, and then audio listens it back. So they'll record it and they'll play it back to themselves. A lot of them will even listen to it in their sleep. So to have a plan in place, and then I think it's called auto-suggestion, if I'm not mistaken. You're writing it down. I am so happy and grateful for the abundance in my life. I'm so happy and grateful for my business having expanded. I'm so happy and grateful for whatever the case may be. And then reading it back to yourself and doing this daily. It's that's like a universal, we'll call it cheat code.
Yeah,
like that's
it's a hack.
Yeah, it is definitely.
It's a total life hack.
Yeah, 1000%. And yeah, like energy doesn't lie, and energy is everything essentially. So you know what I mean. When you're vibing low, you're going to bring in low vibes back to you, and the high vibes up, they bring vibes back to you. So it doesn't matter if you're Christian, Hindu, whatever the case may be. These are all just high vibrational thought process and actions and feelings that all are encompassing of our daily lives. So if you look at like a Hindu or a Buddhist versus a Christian, like as long as they're high vibes, they're giving to others, they're treating themselves with respect, they're meditating and they're eating good water, like they're just doing the right things. They're all living a beautiful life.
Guess what's going to happen with their life?
Yeah, 100%.
More often than not.
More often than not.
That's just what happens, right? The blessings will just start coming,
Amen.
and luck. You know, luck. No, you end up making your own luck when you're vibing like that and you're living like that. You end up making your own luck, and it has nothing to do with it. I want to go back now to the fact that you have gotten to this place where you're doing this. You've created the space that you've wanted to create, where you're not working for somebody else. You've got other parts of your business that are growing. I want to talk about the scalp stuff in a second here because again, a pain point for men is our self-image.
Yes.
And we don't talk about it very much. And now you've got years of experience under your belt. You've built the launching pad of where you're going. And I'm very curious to know your perspective after how many thousands of cuts and styles and things that you've done for men. Are there any patterns that you see? Do you ever see a guy who comes in and they're not feeling very good about themselves and you can kind of manipulate that a little bit and send them out Are there patterns? Like, can you speak to that, the idea
sure.
of this?
For sure. There's a lot of transfer energy in this job, which I didn't really recognize and wasn't aware of. So like, if I'm not having the best day, if I didn't prepare my day accordingly, if I started my day hungover or having had a nasty fight with whoever in my life, that's going to spill over onto my clients. They're going to feel that energy as soon as they walk through the door, especially if they're an empath. And like, I'm a very emotional, I'm a communicator through my body language, through my tone of voice, through like, you can just like see it on me if I'm high or if I'm low.
Yep.
And so with that said, if I'm not on my best A game, then that's going to transfer over to them. They're not going to leave the best that they should have because I didn't do the best I could have for them. Now, if it's the opposite, they come in feeling like whatever, less than. I do my best every day to shake hands, look them right in the eye, give them a hug, and then have a small, quick chat about what's going on.
Yep.
How can I help? What's the vision for the cut? And then give them slaps on the ass, just bring them up through the cut, talking about the cut, kind of like just constantly trying to just bring them up, man. Like if they come in not feeling their best, I want to ensure that they're feeling even 1% better when they leave. And that's an improvement. You can't really, I can't shoot for 100% every time, but I can shoot to be better by 1% every day. So if I can have them leave even 1% better, feeling 1% better, then that's huge. And to speak to, men's body image and like the way they feel about themselves. There's a lot of men that come in for haircuts, and it's not every man, but there's some that are extremely particular about, oh my goodness, you cut this like 1 inch or 1/4 inch or a 16th of an inch too short, or you missed this piece. Now think about that. These are men with hair, right? And now they're fine tuning, they're focusing in, like they're microscoping in on these finer details.
Yeah.
Now let's go look at the other side of the spectrum. Men that don't have hair, or are losing their hair, or they've got patches. Or
hey, you're talking to one right here, right there.
You've got a great head of hair, but and the beard is killing it. But just picture that. We're talking about guys that are like really finicky or finessey with their hair, and then you've got guys that are losing it, and
those guys who are losing it,
man,
many times you talk about those quiet lives of desperation. Inside, they don't talk about it. Oh yeah, losing my hair, whatever, But many times, a lot of them inside are not feeling good about themselves at that point.
A lot of them tell me, I'm totally cool with being bald, and I'm like, all right, that's important that you're cool with being bald. But a lot of times, I'd say like 6 out of 10 times, they're not.
Yeah.
Because they won't admit it. They don't want to talk about it. It's a soft spot. Because it's just not public knowledge. Like it's not publicly like spoken of too often as men's hair loss. It's just like accepted. Men go bald. Yeah. Well, that's hard on some guys.
Yeah. A lot of us, okay, I got a little bit of hair I'm covering, but like if someone the wrong way, Chisholm, hey, I see you losing it back there a little bit. Like if it's said the wrong way, I have to deal with that. I have to filter that a little bit to make sure it doesn't touch my vibration. And I consider myself a guy who's pretty in tune with how I'm feeling and all that stuff. If I didn't have some tools, that's the kind of shit that could sit with somebody 3 weeks later. One little comment in an elevator or in an office or in a job site or whatever can sit with a guy for 3 to 4 weeks later. It can still be sitting there and just for that entire month have been looping and looping and looping and looping. What does that do to our vibration, right?
Absolutely. It probably has a large effect because it's just like they're manifesting almost more of it because they're just stuck on it. It's on repeat, on a loop in their mind. Mm-hmm. My hair doesn't look good. I'm not as confident because I don't have hair. I can't style my hair. Yeah. It's thinning. It looks patchy. And then even, oh my goodness, to think of the men that have gone through the risk and or lack thereof reward when it comes to not always hair transplants.
Right.
So you got guys going to get a hair transplant from the old technology, the FUT, which is like hair transplant.
You see the big Frankenstein scars on the back of those. Yeah.
Look on top.
Yeah.
Some of the jobs can turn out incredible, and I commend these doctors and surgeons that are doing that work. But a lot of it isn't turning out well for them. It's taking a lot of time, money, and pain out of these guys, putting pain into their lives through the experience of the actual service, and then thereafter when it doesn't work. Yeah. Or they're jumping on DHT blockers, finasteride. There's a whole fucking lot to it. So this is where I'm just staring at my work on the wall. That's why I'm in love with SMP. Yeah. Like you can guarantee results as long as they're in alignment with what they are expecting. Yep. Okay, so you don't have hair. We can make it look like you do. Yep. And it's a guaranteed thing. This is the process. This is how it works. And this is like what's here for the men. We're here for men, man, and it's amazing. A lot of guys want their hair to grow back. I get that. I fully understand that.
Yeah.
But the chances of that happening may be a lot slimmer than you think.
Yep. So I want to go into that a little bit because, okay, so you start, you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're enjoying it a lot. You're getting game when it comes to being the barber and all the different styles and all the different things that you can do for somebody. And you're seeing a hole in the market because there are guys who you're seeing, okay, well, there's another service I can add to it. This is what the SMP is, right?
Yep,
and
right.
and so let's break into that. Exactly what is it? And I think the why you're adding it to your business is pretty evident. But yeah, let's talk about that and let's talk about how guys feel.
Okay.
It's being done behind us, by the way, everybody.
Yeah,
you know, not our first rodeo.
We got Shannon. I'm super grateful for Shannon. I brought Shannon on deck with me. Got her trained up under one of my mentors as well, just earlier this year. On Instagram at beyond_inc. Yeah, she's extremely talented. I'm happy to have her on the team. And scalp micropigmentation is something that I came across. Can you believe this? From Scott Ramos from Famous.
There you go.
So when I went to go check him last year,
Yep.
2020, 2021, I seen him in Winnipeg and he's like, dude, check out my hair. I'm like, yeah, it's fire as per. And he's like, no, look closer. And I looked at his hairline and he's a Filipino and he's always got to look the nicest. So he did a dent. Yeah, he did a, that looks amazing, by the way, back there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Scott did like his hairline. He had the density fill to his hairline, and it just looked incredible. Like he just got edged up out of the barbershop like minutes ago.
Yeah.
But he went to see Donna Faithy out of Vancouver, and so he told me he got this job done from Donna out of Van and how much it cost, and I was like, oh, it costs that much?
Yeah.
And like, it was a fair price, but like just to see what was done, I couldn't imagine like how lucrative it could have been.
Right.
And so one, I recognized how happy he was, how confident he was, how stoked he was. Happy and stoked, interchangeable words.
Let's do the price, for example, here. I just want to make sure, what was it about the price that shocked you so much?
Well, I just knew that the job probably didn't take more than 45 minutes.
Yep.
And the price point was like $675.
Okay.
But like, I'm also not silly and ignorant to the fact that time, effort, and energy put into a craft and service needs to be rewarded. For example, you have this lock. My lock is broken back there. The key broke off inside.
Yep.
For me to get that fixed from a locksmith, I don't know, $100, might take him 4 minutes.
Yep.
Why would I pay someone $100 for 4 minutes of work? Well, it's because I can't do it, and they're an expert in it. So I saw it being a lucrative opportunity to make money to be rewarded for helping and changing men's lives.
Okay, so you know, I'm a dummy, and we all know that I'm a dummy, and so
we're all dummies, bro.
So let me. Well, you know, I think about tattoos, and I got a couple pieces on my body and all that, and of course, you get what you pay for when it comes to that kind of a thing. Now, the first thing that I think of when I think of the process you're talking about here, are we talking about tattooing hair onto our body? Is that essentially what this process is?
Yes.
Explain it to me because I am a dummy. What exactly are we doing
within reason?
here?
Like, we're not going to use our liners and our needles here to draw literal like hair strokes. Right. Some actually have been doing that. They're starting to do that for women up in this area. To each their own. I'm not going to do that, but the scalp micropigmentations practice and service that we're providing is to create a non-invasive, super realistic and natural replication, of a hair follicle. So your hair follicle, when you buzz it down with like say a 00 trimmer, like a very close trim, you're just seeing a round dot, but with that pigment of your hair follicle color in conjunction with your skin. So, you know, you do a buzz cut, you just see follicles. And so we're mimicking this. So a lot of guys, as I mentioned on the Norwood set, like a Norwood scale, Norwood 7 being the most bald, they have got the cul-de-sac. So they can grow this hair as long as they wanted to down to their shoulders, but the top's not going to be there.
Right.
So if we just get these guys in alignment with the full vision of a full buzz cut, restoring a full head, a representation of a full haircut, we buzz the sides down to a 00, and then we replicate and mimic that exact length of hair, which is basically none, through the impressions that we make with our needle. So you can use it on a specific angle, a little bit of a different degree, and you can actually stroke it a little bit. So you can create a small stroke, but basically what we're making is the visual representation of a buzz cut through that short, small, micro follicle size.
Wow.
If that makes, I hope you can put that.
No, it totally makes sense. And now I want to talk about, like, we can't see the pictures that are up in the here, but at the end of the day, what you're essentially doing is somebody is, if they've had a buzz cut and they look like that Mr. Clean on top, like I'm getting that a little bit up here, right? by creating the illusion or the symmetry is probably a better word. By creating that symmetry again, how much difference does that make on men's mental health or self-esteem?
Oh, buddy. Well, Shannon did a job yesterday. She did a density fill. So there's the hairline restoration for men that are like, say, anywhere from like a Norwood 4 to 7. They got extreme hair loss, and we got to recreate that whole full fresh hairline.
Is 7 like the most hair loss?
Yeah,
that
7's the Mr. Clean
okay.
cul-de-sac, and
Yep.
1 being like just minimal.
Okay.
There's a lot of guys in like the Norwood 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be like either just pattern baldness or thinning.
Yep.
You can do, and also for women, of course, too.
Yep.
You can do what is called a density fill. So they're not going to cut their hair down as short as you would for the hairline restoration.
Right.
They'll leave the hair as is, depending on how this hairstyle works or looks. But we're going to add the density with these impressions through the hair to just actually create a mirage effect on the scalp. So it's not like the light white skin scalp anymore. It's got the illusionary effect, pardon me, of a thicker head of hair.
That color makes a difference.
Yeah, it's massive for
Yeah.
sure. A lot of the guys that we are doing now, including the one that Shannon had done yesterday, was a post hair transplant.
Okay.
So very chia pet like, with all due respect. But the hair grows out. When the hair grows out in length, the follicles, you can see the spacing between them. And as the hair grows out, you can see the light shine through. And then you have the completely obvious visual.
Yeah, that's a different illusion now,
yeah,
isn't it?
now
At
you're
that
seeing
point.
scalp through hair.
Yeah.
And now we're going to avoid the vision of the scalp through the mirage effect with these impressions.
Yeah. I think sometimes the act of just doing something, like you know what, you're a jacked up dude. My oldest stepson, jacked guy, he just went through his first bodybuilding competition, and I look at that and go, okay, that's incredible what you guys do. But when I go to the gym, I still feel good. I may not come out looking like that, but I still feel good. And I think sometimes that the effort goes a long way to our mental well-being. And I think sometimes we let ourselves go because we don't know that there are other options that are out there.
For sure.
We don't necessarily go to the barber for the, we go to the, again, not trying to, demoralize anybody or judge anybody, but they go to the $15 haircut from from the chain versus going to somebody who actually is going to put some care into it and say, okay, let's be intentional.
Yep.
We're going to make you feel like this when you leave here. We're going to make you look like this when you leave here. We're going to make you feel special, essentially, is really what it is. And aren't we all just looking for somebody in our life to kind of have our back when it comes to that?
100%.
The clothing sales gal who actually means what she says. She's not just trying to get a commission. She actually says, no, don't wear those pants. Wear these pants. They're perfect for your body type. Aren't we just fucking looking for that as guys?
I would say.
And you get to be that for a lot of guys who don't necessarily open up on this stuff.
For sure.
But you can see it. Like you're almost like I've heard this about bartenders and about folks who work with people's hair. You're almost like an armchair psychologist, right?
100%. Yeah, and I mean, it goes both ways too, because us barber stylists, it's not about us, it's about the client, but we get a lot back from our clients too. The open communication between men and between women too, because we do service men and women. But specifically, we'll speak to men on men. Yeah, this is a great opportunity. It's a safe place. And my specific barbershop is a place that I know a lot, and if not all my clients that are true to me and tight with me and that are repeat customers know that we have a unique bond, we have a unique experience, unique conversations, and it's between us and we help one another through and through. Like today's my birthday and my phone's exploding with clients hitting me, and I appreciate it so much. And like if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am, and if it wasn't for like some of the things that we've gone through and talked about and some of these cuts that I've done for them, they may or may not be even here today, honestly.
Oh my God. I love that you don't minimize what you do. I love that you know that and you take stock and pride, but in a good way. You take confidence out of the fact that you're actually doing something that does have a bit of a higher purpose to it. Like when you say that, it sounds dramatic, but it's 100% true. And sometimes those little things can be dramatic. God, it's very, very cool you opening up and talking about these things here. Time gets slippery when we do these shows. I say that like a broken record. I say every time gets slippery. I like it. It sounds good to me. Automatic-poetically, it's nice. I like it. Anyway, time gets slippery. It goes fast. I want to make sure that we cover anything that that you want to get out there before we finish this episode? I hope you come back one day. Like I love that you're able to talk about this stuff. Many times it's things that happened in our past, and we examine the traumas of the things that happened in our past that lead to being living a future that is intentional.
For sure.
And it's clear that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's come with its own struggles, man. So like, I don't want to paint a picture like that I've figured it all out, because I'm working every day to figure it out. Like Shannon's aware, my apprentice that might be here very soon, some of my closest clients to me, friends and family, all know that I have and still do at times struggle with my own demons and my own issues, and just vocalizing these things and speaking them to the ones that you can trust and have close to your heart to help you is important. You know, I've struggled with drug use and consumption addictions, and I've pushed through these things. I'm not saying that we're perfect, you know, but
we're never perfect.
No, it's always strive to be 1% better every day.
There you go.
And have complete transparency and truth in honor in what it is you're trying to accomplish, and taking these small steps each day. So yeah, man, throughout the whole process of even becoming a barber, moving to Kelowna, buying a house, working in the patch, coming out of it, losing my girl 5 years, buying a house, just all the shit. It comes with a cost, and it comes with, it's taxing, but as long as you're taking stock of what it is you're doing for yourself, who's around you, what you're doing with your time, how you're treating yourself, your own self-talk needs to be definitely closely analyzed. And if you find yourself not speaking to yourself so kindly, that's where I would start. Step one is start to speak to yourself a little bit more respectfully and honestly. Don't look at yourself in the mirror anymore and lie to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Like, look yourself deep in the eyes and know that you are worthy, and capable. And then take the action steps, plan it out, get the help you need, reach out, put your hand the fuck out, and someone will reach for it.
Yeah.
You know, and if they won't, just keep throwing your hand in the face, and someone's going to say, "Yo, what are you doing?" And then get a hold of you, and you know what I mean? That's
you're describing exactly what HeChangedIt is all about.
Perfect.
You're describing exactly what my wife and her team are trying to build is the place where guys can put their hand out, and sometimes anonymously is the better way to go. You know, if you got a room, if you got a virtual room or whatever with 5 guys in there, hey, I just got cheated on, or hey, this just how I just got fired, or hey, I don't feel very good about myself right now, and suddenly there's 5 guys who you're saying that to. Number one, you just said it yourself when you talk to people that you trust about some of this stuff, right? Doesn't that take away the power? Okay, if you're consumed by consuming things, and that is happening, if you tell somebody that you're consuming things, doesn't that take away some of the power? It's the silence and us living with it internally alone is what gives it a lot of its power, right?
For sure.
So just the idea of letting out some steam by talking about this shit, I mean, that alone is a big help.
Absolutely. I think, just being honest, open, and then searching for answers through, like, you know, meditation, communication with groups like this, like HeChangedIt, close friends, even just like finding a barber like me. You can come check out the Black Market Barber Co. Here in Kelowna. It's a safe spot for men and women. I'm definitely an open book. Like, I have no qualms to tell the truth about my life. And that's the unique thing, man. A lot of people don't know how to accept that everyone's got an opinion, and the streets are talking at all times, but they're not always talking about you. And if you do hear someone speaking of you one time or 2 times or 3 times, whatever, you just got to keep moving and keep your head held high, knowing that you are, assuming you are, and I hope you all are, pushing to become 1% better every day. And so if you're doing that, I mean, what are you doing wrong? Essentially nothing. You're going to fail forward, and you're going to learn as you go. There's no losses unless you're not actually taking stock of these lessons and making adjustments to improve your life.
Absolutely. Is that dude sleeping?
He may
pretty
very
close.
Well
He might be sleeping. Getting the scalp done and your beauty rest at the same time. There we go. I can't be more grateful for you coming here and talking about this today and allowing us to come invade the space here and change things up for us a little bit.
Yeah,
it's super, super cool, Nicholas. Let's do that. Let's get the social media, you know.
For sure.
Let's get all of the, if people want to find you on the social media, but also the physical, want to book an appointment here, whether they're taking a trip or they're local, you know, we got a lot of locals who watch this this program as well. How do they get a hold of you?
There's a few ways. So Online, we can use the website www.blackmarketbarberco.com. Pardon me. Shannon's part of the team here, so you can find me and Shannon through our Instagram page direct to our barbershop here and Scalp Micropigmentation Studio, which is on Instagram at blackmarketbarberco.smp. Her personal specific page for SMP is at beyond_inc. My personal Instagram page is at who is Nicholas, Nicholas, Mercier, Mercier, who is Nicholas Mercier. So we are Black Market Barberco. Shannon, Nicholas, my apprentice, and all my clients, we're all Black Market Barberco. And just keep in mind, like, why we started. We started this because we were all told, most of us were told we were not essential. And that is incorrect. We are all essential. And that is why we opened the shop, to service the community, men and women alike, to help being like a beacon of light, to know that there is a way out. You know, that pandemic lockdown was dark and gloomy for a lot of people, and it had a huge effect on men's mental health. So me having started the shop out of my garage just off the jump was a great start in the journey that I've been on today, to continue to push to improve men's self-image and mental health. And now we're segueing into men and women's self-image and mental health through the act of scalp micropigmentation.
Amazing. I'm so grateful for this. So let me tell you, okay, can you do something for me? Because I need a lot of help here. Is there anything that
your beard, your beard is looking fire. The hair is nice. I think what I would just do is, we'll talk about it after.
We'll talk about it after?
Yeah. We can't let away all our secrets.
If he can help me, if there's help for me, anybody. Is it a lot? If they found out a lost cause, nobody else is. That's what I'm trying to say. I jest a little bit. But I just appreciate your energy so much. I can feel it. I'm sure it can be felt through the ones and zeros of the digital landscape out there as well. Thank you for being so vulnerable today. Vulnerability is the thing that it's a silver bullet as well. Gratefulness. You touched on a lot of them. Talking about self-image and all these things. We're gonna make it so it's not uncomfortable to talk about this stuff for men. That's the goal. Shine the light on the things that need shining on. And let's shrink the darkness that's out there. You are doing that, Nicholas. You and your crew and everything you're doing. The fact is that when you talk about your new space that you've opened here fairly recently, and you've used the word, this is a safe space, like 5 times during this broadcast even. Yeah. I love that you call this place, it's not just cool and inviting and comfortable. You call it a safe space. Yeah. I love that. That's fantastic.
Appreciate that. I'm not too far left. I'm not too far right. I don't really like the woke mob these days, but we are a safe place in the sense that men and women can walk in here and know that they're safe from judgment, and they're safe to speak their mind, and they're safe to just tell us how they feel from the heart. That's what a safe place is to me. It doesn't mean you can't use certain words or. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no. I hear you, and I appreciate that. Hey, crew, how are we doing? We good? Shan, you good? Okay. How's he doing? He looks good. Yeah, there it is right there. Thank you, my man.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to more of this as the HeChangedIt empire expands, and maybe we can get you clearly. I don't know if you got a personal development book in you or something. Maybe you got a segment on HeChangedIt somewhere where you can give some tips to guys like me out there who are just trying to find our way, trying to feel better about ourselves.
I'd be happy to come back and connect, and we can map out a project plan. If we can involve more people, sweet. If it's just me and you guys, let's do it. I'd love to talk more about my story and how I can help others if any way I can.
Oh man, thank you so much, brother.
It. Yeah.
They go by real fast. I love this. It's my favorite part of my week is doing these podcasts. I appreciate it so much. I hope that you out there in the ones and zero land gets just as much from it as I do. It is an incredible thing where we all start thinking about where we're at and where we want to be, and we help each other get there. That's what heCast is all about. That's what HeChangedIt is all about. Again, if you haven't downloaded the app yet, please do. We got lots of things coming down the pipe, lots of good news. I keep talking about how we're not quite funded yet. We're still in beta. That might be changing fairly soon. We've got some things happening, and it's going to be fun to watch HeChangedIt blow up the way that it's always been meant to.
Destined.
Absolutely.
There's no way you can stop this train, bro. If you're here to help men and women, or just you're specific to men, but there's going to be women listening with their brothers, their uncles, their dads, whatever. You're here to help people, and that's the ticket number 1. And I know you'll succeed with that.
Oh, we appreciate that so much. Yeah, well, and She Changed It is not that far away either, and
Ooh.
We Changed It, and there's a whole bunch of things that are going to be
Cool.
coming, but this is the one that we're starting with, and more to come. That's the
Amazing.
way to talk about that. Please download the app. Please subscribe, like, share this podcast with everyone you know. So that way I don't have to say it anymore. Once our metrics are at a certain point, I don't have to say that anymore. And the heCast can have a few more seconds of me not saying that. So thank you very much. My name is Mike Chisholm. I am the host of heCast, the official podcast of HeChangedIt. Go change something.
Sick.